Something extremely important is happening with Gala Gaming right now, and it's positioned on the charts to see something very exciting unfolding, but don't jump in just yet. You need to understand exactly what might be about to happen for Gala before we get our perfect setup. And I'll talk about that price prediction later on in the video, so hit the like button. Let's get into this video. Now guys, if you subscribe to my channel, or you're subscribed to Alex Becker's channel, or any other kind of crypto investor who's been looking at the narrative on a larger scale, you'll understand that GameFi is probably where we're going to see the most growth. And I'll show you some of the metrics in a minute that support that. But this here shows the rise of gaming ever since 1972. And we are now seeing a huge portion of this growth taken up by blockchain games, which is anticipated to reach a valuation of around $67.4 billion in 2026. That is just 3 years away, 2.5 years away, in fact. And I think we're going to see big growth there. And how I know we're going to see big growth there, guys? Well, we can already see a huge amount of deal flow coming into the space. The big money is identifying that gaming, particularly, is starting to be one of the most exciting parts of cryptocurrency. And how do I know that? Well, there hasn't been a huge amount of investment in total across June, July, as the markets remain a little bit unconvincing. But if we come across to crypto fundraising, you can see the amount of money that gaming and new gaming projects have still been able to raise. Here we can see Mythical Games raised $37 million back in June. Coming down through the list, $12 million in June. Back into June and May, we saw a massive amount of money flowing into new gaming projects. And while they might see some good growth, few are better established than Gala. Another thing that's really important to look at is Web3 funding over here on Exploding Topics is really starting to grow. That's very interesting. This to me indicates that we could be, or we are, in my opinion, moving into a bull market, because this means that a lot of companies are starting to build up and starting to get hyped about the potential for growth. They know that right now is the time to be building their crypto companies, and they know there is a lot of venture capital out there looking to invest in them. Now, as you'd imagine, I'm a big fan of Altcoin Daily, and I was watching this recent interview that Altcoin Daily did with Jason Brink, who is the president of blockchain over at Gala Games. I want to point out something very important that he talks about here when talking about the latest game released from Gala.
Planet with your team while fighting other teams. It's a full-fledged, beautiful game. The team running it is headed up by Phil Wattenbarger, who was the project lead for Halo Infinite and the Call of Duty multiplayer editions for the last Call of Duty. So it's being made by a legitimate AAA team that makes legitimate AAA games, and it is a legitimately AAA.
And I get it. You're like, well, what's the big deal about having a AAA team building games? Now guys, I'm not a gamer, but I have played a few video games in the past and I understand a little bit about how they work. Now, it wasn't until I met people who worked specifically in GameFi and building games until I understood just how complex and difficult a task building a AAA rated game is. Not only that, but to build that onto a blockchain takes two massive pieces of technology that traditionally don't really exist in separate parts. We've now got a blockchain company in Gala that's now partnering up with a AAA gaming team who are now able to build AAA rated games that have the option to do play to earn. This is enormously important. It's obvious, I think, more than anything out there, that making games into play to earn games is going to be massively important within the gaming industry. We know that that's going to be a massive area of growth. It's just a no-brainer. And it's going to cause a massive wall of money to arrive into that space because people will be playing video games whether they like crypto or not. And they might just have to use crypto to start playing those video games. And they've never even considered that what they're buying to interact with that platform is a cryptocurrency. That is Gala in total. And Gala, we know, has had an enormous community of support throughout the bear market. Now, this is not sponsored by Gala or anything, guys. I'm looking at this as a mere investment opportunity. I'm not, however, buying Gala right this second. I'll be showing you why not and why I think it's worth perhaps waiting slightly later on. So when you understand the importance of what they're achieving, it can take a few years to create a top-level AAA game. Not only that, it costs millions of dollars because they take massive amounts of manpower to be able to achieve this. And that is why Gala is ahead of the curve. Now, we know that they already have an ecosystem that are using the Gala coin, and this means that there is a level already of utilization of that token, which means that when people start to flood back into the market, it tends to grow very aggressively. And we can see this if we jump back and look at the chart. Now, this is a very exciting chart for Gala, okay? However, it's not quite ready yet. Look at the buy zone that we found earlier on this year, okay? A lot of people are going to be like, oh yeah, Gala's got crap tokenomics, it hasn't got the ability to grow, and hasn't got the ability to do this, it hasn't got the ability to do that. Guys, it's one of very few projects that's actually doing already what it's promising to do. Whether the tokenomics are not ideal, I would perhaps agree with you, but look at the growth last time we were out of this box. Within like a week or 2 weeks, it went up 250%. Now you're waiting to see gains in other coins that perhaps won't even do 250% in the next year, okay? Gala has the ability to do this, and it's because at this point there was still a good community that were just using the cryptocurrency to work within the game. And that is important because they don't really care themselves too much about the crypto. There's a lot of people just using Gala. They just happen to be involved in crypto by mistake. Okay? Well, not by mistake, because they're using the platform. But what we can see, and you're like, oh, I've been watching lots of price prediction videos. I know that this is a falling wedge. You would be right. The falling wedge has a very good chance, around a 67.4% chance of breaking towards the upside, and a very significant chance to reach back towards this level, which would be a very big push of around 89%. And I do believe, and you could see that it happened before, where Gala literally gained in the first day of that pump 32%, and on the second day, at one point, it rallied all the way to 126%. This is why Gala is worth paying attention to, because like it or not, I do believe that we're going to see some good growth here. But I showed you in a video I made earlier on where I think that Bitcoin and crypto in general could be about to have a little slide down because of what I'm reading in the news. That is actually very positive news that I think is going to shake everyone to the downside. That maybe, just maybe, Gala is going to have a further dip, another dip into this zone here. Now, obviously we've got one of two scenarios. We push out of this zone or we bounce back into here. Now, if you were buying up down here, because you missed out on that, then you will have an incredible opportunity to be buying in here. So what we can do is we can just set an alert somewhere around here, which is around 1.9 cents. That would be a good place to be right-clicking on Trading View, which is a free tool, and just putting yourself in an alert. Okay, if it gets down to here, you can just set it an alert by Gala Games. Now, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you to do that. It's just all I'm doing, guys. This is a tutorial on how to find a good buying point and not be distracted by any noise in the market. Now, why do I think it could well be about to bounce down there? Well, we have already seen Gala looking quite strong ever since it was down in the buy zone before. It pumped up. It's now 37% up. We are, however, I think if Bitcoin takes a slide, going to slide further, which means we can get down in here. And is that important? Well, if you're buying now, then you do have a potential for a 30% downside, which obviously, is not that bad when we look at the grand scheme of things, because back to that high from current levels, you're still looking at a whopping 147%, which I think could happen very, very quickly for Gala. Personally, I think that, you could be buying right now, you'd still be fairly happy. You could be buying in the green box, could be happier. But, if we're investing right now, let's say I've got $100, I could potentially put in $50 to $75 here, and then I keep $25 or $50 to put in if the price falls down here. That means I can then DCA in, brings down my average price paid, and then I'm sitting looking happy. But I do think that this lineup where you got the buy zone in conjunction with this falling wedge is ultimately a very bullish place to be buying from. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't go lower. Obviously, do your own research, understand what's going on. But a lot of people talking a lot of crap about Gala right now. Personally, you can see we were here before, and look at what happened to Gala in the last bull market, guys. From that point, we are currently priced at, it did a rally, it came up 500% in about 4 or 5 days. It then had a cool-off period for a good couple of months, and then from that cool-off period, it did this, and it went up 900%, 940%. Now, given the growth that we're seeing in gaming, I've already talked about it, I think we're going to see a significant growth beyond this market cap. Will we see Gala going towards $2, $3? It's more than possible, and I think that will be giving us a very big bit of growth. In that interview on Altcoin Daily, Jason Brink thought that they had all the tech necessary to drive it into being a top 25 cryptocurrency in the next bull market. Obviously do your own research. Obviously, he's going to be bullish on his own project, but they're working on a ton of stuff, and they've been developing throughout a bear market and actually making revenue throughout a bear market, which is more than can be said for a lot of other cryptocurrencies out there. If you want to discuss more about Gala and find out other gaming projects that I'm buying and other people are buying, then get into the free Telegram, link down below in the description. If you enjoyed that video, guys, do me a favor, hit the like button if you're new to the channel, and make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.